Welcome to Mystery Unfolds. Get ready for a thrilling ride as we dive into our first mystery. The Mystery of Hollowbrook's Clocktower. Episode 1, The Strange Light. Lila grew up in Hollowbrook, a small, quiet town. Nothing exciting ever happened there, but there was one place everyone talked about, the old Clocktower. It stood tall in the center of town, and its giant clock had been stuck at midnight for as long as anyone could remember. People said the tower was haunted. Some claimed to see strange lights there at night, but Lila never believed those stories. That changed one night. Walking home from her friend's house, Lila saw a faint light coming from the clock tower. This was strange because no one was supposed to be inside, and the tower had no electricity. Curious, Lila walked closer. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. It was dark and smelled old, like dust and forgotten memories. In the center of the room, she saw a tall grandfather clock. Carved into the wood was the name, Samuel Darnell, 1898. Samuel Darnell was the man who had built the tower. The people in town said he had disappeared right after finishing it. Nobody knew where he went, and some said he had gone crazy. Lila reached out to touch the clock. As soon as her hand brushed it, the clock started ticking, the hands moving fast. Then it stopped, and she heard a whisper. It has begun. Episode 2, The Old Diary. The next day, Lila couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. What did "it has begun" mean? She had a bad feeling about it. Wanting to know more, she went to the library and looked up books about the clock tower. After searching for a while, she found an old diary in the back of a dusty shelf. It was Samuel Darnell's diary. At first, the entries were just about his work, but then they became strange. Samuel wrote about a curse he had put on the clock, saying he had stolen time and now had to pay a price. One entry read, "The clock will stop time, but at a price. I am trapped, and soon others will be too." This scared Lila. She didn't know what kind of curse he had put on the clock, but she was worried that by entering the tower, she had somehow woken it up. That night, she called her friends Jared and Mia to tell them what she'd discovered. Jared didn't believe in ghosts or curses. "It's just an old clock, Lila. You're overthinking this." But Mia looked worried. "I don't know, Jared. There have been strange things happening around town. People are acting forgetful and weird." They decided to go back to the clock tower together. Episode 3, The Ghost of Samuel Darnell. When they arrived at the clock tower, it was completely silent. As they walked in, Lila felt a chill run down her spine. It felt like someone else was there. Then, out of the shadows, an old man appeared. His skin was pale, and his eyes were empty, like he had been hiding in the dark for years. "Who are you?" Lila whispered, her voice shaking. The man stared at her with a sad smile. "I am Samuel Darnell. You've woken the curse, and now it will come for you." Before they could say anything, he vanished. After that night, things in town got worse. People seemed confused and would forget things as if pieces of time were missing. Lila, Jared, and Mia met at the library again, trying to figure out what to do. In Samuel's diary, Mia found one last message. "The clock can be stopped, but only by breaking it. Time is stolen, and someone must pay." Lila understood what this meant. They had to go back to the tower one last time and destroy the clock to end the curse. That night, they entered the tower. Inside, the clock was silent, but it felt as if it was watching them. As they moved closer, the floor began to crack, revealing a dark hole, a portal that seemed endless. "We have to destroy the clock," Lila said. But as she reached out to do it, the portal began to pull at them. Jared tried to hold on to Lila. "Don't go in there, Lila." But she knew what she had to do. To end the curse, she would have to step into the portal, sacrificing herself to break the cycle. She looked at her friends, gave them a brave smile, and stepped into the darkness. The next morning, the people of Hollowbrook noticed something strange. The clock tower had finally stopped. The curse had been broken, but Lila was gone. Jared and Mia stood outside the tower, looking up at it. They knew Lila had saved them, but the cost had been high. And deep in the shadows of the clock tower, a faint whisper could still be heard, waiting for the next soul curious enough to open the door. Episode 4, The Whispering Shadows. Weeks passed, and the town began to settle back into normal life. People stopped noticing the clock tower, and the strange memory lapses around town faded. But Jared and Mia couldn't forget Lila. They felt guilty. She had sacrificed herself to break the curse, but they still didn't fully understand what she'd saved them from. One evening, Mia heard a soft whisper in her bedroom. She froze. The voice sounded just like Lila's. "Mia," the whisper said, barely audible. "Come to the tower." Terrified, Mia told Jared about the voice. They both knew it was a bad idea, but they had to go back to the clock tower and find out if it was really Lila trying to communicate with them, or something else. They arrived at the clock tower after dark. Everything looked the same, silent, dusty, and frozen in time. But as soon as they stepped inside, they felt a cold breeze, even though all the windows were closed. It was like the air itself was alive, charged with a strange energy. Then they saw it, faint writing on the wall, glowing softly in the darkness. The letters spelled out, "Find the key. Only then will I be free." Jared and Mia looked at each other, both wondering the same thing. Was Lila trapped somewhere, waiting to be freed? And what was this key she was talking about? They decided to search the room, hoping to find any clues. As they sifted through dusty papers and old books, they found a small, silver key hidden beneath a floorboard. It was cold to the touch and had strange symbols carved into it, symbols they had never seen before. Holding the key, Mia felt a sudden wave of memories rush through her, memories that didn't belong to her. She saw flashes of Samuel Darnell's life, his lonely hours working on the clock, his obsession with controlling time, and the final ritual he'd performed to trap his own soul in the clock tower. Episode 5, Uncovering the Ritual. With the key in hand, Jared and Mia knew they had to learn more about Samuel's ritual and why he'd trapped his own soul. They returned to the library, digging through old newspapers and records about the clock tower. Finally, they found a forgotten article about Samuel Darnell's final days. According to the story, he had become obsessed with the idea of eternal time and believed he could trap time itself. But in doing so, he had accidentally bound his own spirit to the clock tower. They learned that Samuel had built the clock to feed on the energy of anyone who touched it. This was why Lila had become trapped. She had awakened the clock and unknowingly started the cycle all over again. Now, her spirit was bound just like Samuel's, lost in an endless loop unless someone could break it. But the key? That was something Samuel had left behind. In case anyone ever tried to free him, Jared and Mia returned to the tower with the key, ready to see if it could help them free Lila. They approached the grandfather clock, which was silent now, its hands still stuck at midnight. As Jared held the key close to the clock, the air grew heavy, and a faint glow appeared on the clock's face. Then a shadowy figure started to appear inside the glass, a face, watching them from within. It was Lila. "Lila!" Mia cried, tears filling her eyes. "We're here. We're trying to help you." Lila's face looked sad but determined. She mouthed something silently, but they couldn't understand her. She lifted a hand, pressing it against the glass, and pointed down to the base of the clock. There, carved in tiny letters, were the words, "Turn the key and break the curse. But beware, the curse will take one more." Jared and Mia exchanged worried glances. They had come all this way, but breaking the curse would come at a price. They would have to sacrifice someone else to release Lila. Episode 6, The Choice. Mia took a deep breath. "If we don't do this, she'll be trapped forever. She saved us. Now we have to save her." But Jared hesitated. "Mia, what if breaking the curse means one of us gets trapped instead?" They both understood the risk. The curse wouldn't simply end. It needed a replacement. If they freed Lila, one of them might have to take her place. The clock tower wouldn't let all of them leave. Finally, Mia stepped forward. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. "Lila saved us, so it's only fair. If the curse needs someone, then I'll go." Jared grabbed her arm. "No. We have to figure out another way." But Mia had already made up her mind. She placed the key in the lock on the base of the clock and turned it. The clock started ticking, the hands spinning faster and faster. The glass shook, and a blinding light filled the room. Lila's face slowly faded from the clock, and in her place, Mia's reflection appeared, her eyes wide with fear and sadness. As the light faded, Lila stepped out of the shadows, alive and free. She looked at Jared, who was in shock, and then at Mia, who was now trapped behind the glass, her hand pressed against it. "Mia," Lila whispered, horrified at what her friend had done. Mia smiled, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "It's okay, Lila. Just make it count." Jared and Lila stood there, helpless, as the clock reset to midnight. Mia was now part of the clock, bound to keep the curse alive. The tower would continue to hold its secrets, its curse needing to feed on the spirit of anyone brave, or foolish, enough to try to free it. As they left the tower, the clock chimed, a chilling reminder that the curse was still there, waiting, bound to Mia. And the people of Hollowbrook would go on, unaware of the sacrifice she had made to save them all. Enjoyed the story? Subscribe for more thrilling tales and mysteries.